And all right, everybody, welcome everyone this evening. We are here for a deep dive into The Annihilated Self by James Twyman, Jimmy James Twyman, or let's see now, um, something Juniper. What is it? Anyway,
Juniper Joseph.
Juniper Joseph, yeah, which is wonderful too. I love James, so I've been playing his music all day off and on Gather, so folks are hearing his lovely tunes. So let us get our book up. And once I get the book up in the share, well, wait, before I do that, I have to go, I'll go get the link. I've been playing to the, open. Forgot, I just went and emailed that to everybody. So from yesterday. I suddenly my email from James Twyman is missing. And no, it's not missing. I just am passing it up. I have so many emails because I get emails from all different things, and I'm interested in a lot of different stuff. And I always am, uh, you know, paying attention to what other folks are posting, and that's one of the reasons I don't really send out a lot of emails because it's uh, just so many people get so many emails. People get sick of getting all those emails. So I'm gonna post, I'm gonna copy the link and post it in the chat, and you guys can go and copy it from the chat. Um, what does that mean? Okay, it's a big old long link, but I'm sure. And then there's a passcode that goes with it, and I'll put that up as well. And yeah, so because it's Take Heart Publications that published the book, and that's Glenn Hoverman, who is part of the One Mind Foundation. So it's like it's all such a nice family here. So anyway, that big old long thing I posted there is a link, and then the passcode is there as well. Okay.
We are family. I
Yeah,
got my sisters and me.
that's it. We are family. Okay, now back to the book. We're going to start by reading the preface, and then the kind of, Jimmy came last week. Thank you so much for being such a good friend that just comes at a moment's notice when I just ask, will you come? He was like, sure, when? What time? Come, I'll be right there. So that was wonderful to have him here. Um, so this is the um, annihilated self, consumed. Let me see. Why does this not show me the whole title? Anyway, uh, and I do have that book in physical form as well. I got it in a physical copy of it, so if I have it, I can look at it when I wasn't here. So anyway, uh, here we are. Who would like to read? And Marguerite Porot and Begin Mystic. Um, and so if you want to read, don't worry about pronunciation. Just feel free to read without worrying too much about it, because otherwise we'll be fumbling all over ourselves with words. Okay, so who wants to read the preface?
I'll read it.
Okay, great, thank you.
On June the 1st, 1310, oh, I was so busy that day. Marguerite Porete, a Beguine mystic and author of the popular book The Mirror of Simple Souls, was burned at the stake at the Place de rather in Paris. Her refusal to retract her book's primary assertion that grace alone activates and inspires the soul, rather than blindly following religious precepts or prescribed virtues, led to this terrible moment. She was given a choice as she languished in prison: recant her heretical assertions or face execution. For 2 years, authorities tortured Marguerite, convinced that their abuse would lead her to her salvation. She refused to defend herself. She did not even attend her own trial. And so the ecclesiastical judges were left with no choice. Shall I continue? I guess so. Okay. Annihilation. Their judgment left no impression. Okay. Their judgment left no impression on Marguerite, for herself had already been annihilated by brighter flames. One who has been burned by a divine fire, she was reported to have said, there's nothing left to be burned by a physical one. Onlookers were astounded by her peaceful appearance as she was led to the pyre. Her face was serene and her eyes were lifted toward heaven. She made no sound as the flames overtook her body. Marguerite's ashes became fertilizer for other mystics, both then and now, who enjoy the same vision. Through the identity of the author of the Mirror of Simple Souls, though the identity of the author of the Mirror of Simple Souls was lost for centuries, in recent years she has risen like a phoenix, giving new life to souls ready for the same self-annihilation. There was nothing unusual about heretics being burned at the stake in medieval Europe, especially women judged to be witches or practitioners of dark arts. But Marguerite's case was different. Her conviction that self-annihilation is more valuable than visions of the Trinity shocked and alarmed priestly scholars. How could they assert authority and control without communal allegiance to established doctrines and displays of virtue? They had little choice if they wanted to hold on to their position of power. So typical ego. An example had to be made of Marguerite. Today, centuries later, the ancient beings have become a different kind of example. Many of those women were so captured by a direct experience of divinity that they never fully disappeared from our collective memory. There are even several being-inspired communities still alive today, and their resurrection has been nothing short of miraculous. Originally established by medieval lay religious communities for women, living in beginnages, spiritual communities, without taking lifelong vows, they were known for their uncompromising devotion to God, their care for the sick and dying, as well as their strict vows of poverty. But unlike most religious orders, they were allowed to leave the community to marry to begin families if spirit moved them to do so. Their commitment to their mystical lives was so strong that hundreds of beginning communities flourished throughout Europe, as well as beggars for men who were committed to the same lifestyle. Marguerite's death in 1310 marked a kind of schism in the history of the beginning movement. Her willingness to die rather than recant the experiences she described in her book inspired many, but it also stirred deep discredit among church leaders.
Was anybody else like to read? I know that's a long thing of reading, Rafi. So if anybody else would like to read, or if you want to continue reading, that's fine as well.
Okay, either way. No hands? Okay. Within a few decades of Marguerite's execution, most beginnings were forced to close, although some small pockets of beginnings maintained their devotion, including the community in Ghent, Belgium, which numbered nearly 1,000 members in 1905. Wow. Clearly, fire alone was incapable of annihilating Margaret Peretti's passion or the devotion of the many thousands of women who embraced her wisdom. This book was born from the same devotion. Inspired by Marguerite's original manuscript, it is written in the form of a conversation between love, the divine, and the soul, the person.
Oh, sorry.
Writing or reading. In one chapter, another character steps forward that was very present in the mirror of simple souls, the voice of reason. The vast majority of this collection came from my own meditations and listening to that still quiet voice that speaks for God, to which we all have access. It's never different, it's always there. The conversation I felt between my soul and the loving presence of God transported me within seconds of its potency, and its potency remained until the book was completed 3 days later. I felt that this book is the most important of the 25 books I have written, and so I offer it to you, hoping you will sense the same power I felt. My suggestion is this: read it very slowly, one conversation at a time. Don't hesitate to put yourself in my place, feeling the power of love's words reverberating within your own soul. If you do, you will emerge from the cocoon of your own egoic existence and be completely annihilated by the same grace that caused Marguerite to surrender her earthly life. Don't be fooled. You will be asked to disappear just as she did, not into a physical fire, but one that undoes everything you ever believed about yourself and the world in which you live. Read on if you dare. One of my instructors at the release technique has put out several times. She said, just remind yourself that you are nothing. Of course, that nothing is everything. But the more you remind yourself that you are nothing, the weaker your ego hold on you happens.
That's beautiful. Thank you, Rafi. Let's see who has their hand up.
Brooklyn.
Brooklyn. Thank you for reading, Rafi. That was a long go, but yeah, a very interesting little history. And I think about it, she was burned at the stake. I had many times great grandfather who was the only man in Britain in England that was burned at the stake for being a heretic. So I often read, I read, his name was John Rogers, and I read about his life, and I was just astonished that he had actually published the Bible before King James, it was the first publication of the Bible in English language. But he ran afoul of the British monarchy and ended up being burned at the stake. He was a man with a family and many children, and he was kept in a tower for years and years. And then they just pulled him out one day and burned him. So, but he refused to comply. His religious fervor was so strong that he would rather die. And I don't know if I would be that way, because personally, I don't think God cares about what I think. And God's probably laughing at the whole thing anyway. But if you do think that it's really important enough to die for, that's pretty crazy. I don't know. Is anybody, Brooklyn? Yes, please go ahead.
Namaste, Marine companions. If anyone had ancestors that were burned, it had to be you, Lenny. Yeah, yeah. Your arms reach very long. I'm so impressed that the way it's written. Marguerite's ashes became fertilizer for the ones that came after her, and about the phoenix, and it's amazing. It's amazing. I just wanted to share that.
Yeah, it really is amazing. And excuse me, we don't know what it's like to be oppressed because of our religious belief. Of course, my ancestors came over here on the Mayflower. The Pilgrims came over here to their religious belief was oppressed in England. but they had a very different kind of religious belief, but they still believed enough in it to come here and brave the new crazy new world for it. It just is amazing to me. I didn't after I started reading my history and seeing how many religious fanatics were back there, I'm like, well, it's no wonder, I'm sure everybody else has a bunch of it too. It's just pretty crazy to me. Anyway, Karen, yeah, please go ahead.
Yeah, thanks for reading, Rafi, and thanks, Lynn, for having this book, sharing this book with us. For me, it kind of reminds me of Jesus's life. It kind of juxtaposes Jesus's life because of her devotion. And I also loved that her face was serene and her eyes were lifted to heaven as she was being burned at the stake. To me, that is like, we talk about not allowing nothing to affect our peace. Nothing outside of this mind can disturb my peace. And what a demonstration. The crucifixion of Jesus and this are so similar to that. And for examples for all of us, that the things that we go through in life, that no matter what seeming trials, physically, mentally, emotionally, that we're going through, we can be at peace. I love it. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for that too, Karen. And it was interesting. I saw a thing today about how this is very interesting how Christians think that people in these other countries like the Aztecs and whomever that practice human sacrifice, well, we think that's barbaric, but what the heck was Jesus all about? I mean, that was a whole human sacrifice that was meant to, in the eyes of the Christians, and was the thing that brought about our salvation, is believing that God wants bargains. God is a bargaining agent there, and if you and that comes all the way from Cain and Abel from the very beginning. God liking Abel's sacrifice better because it was a blood sacrifice, and Cain, got dissed. God was like, that's not as good. And what the heck? I would have killed my brother too, if God was saying I like him better. So this whole idea of that God wants a blood sacrifice, and of course Cain gave God the blood sacrifice of his brother, and like, here you go, you want blood, here you got it. But anyway, the whole idea of this sacrifice of your life being uh the important thing is crazy. Yeah, I mean, I understand the political situation, but I also understand that God doesn't ask for that. Anyway, Karen had her hand up. Did you want to say something more? And Brooklyn.
No, I just changed my mind, but thanks.
All right, thank you. Brooklyn, please go ahead.
Comes to my mind is the suicide bombers. They're nuts.
Mhm.
They think they're gonna meet some virgins in heaven if they kill themselves along with other people. Yeah.
And it's not just that, they think God will love them more.
Yeah.
Whatever the rewards of heaven is one thing, but it's this dying to get God's love.
Mm.
And I think, when we're talking, we're going to be reading about, annihilating the self. And that is the only quote sacrifice that we're being asked, is to let go of the self. So it just is a very interesting topic, and I'm you know I think we're going to have a really good time reading this. Dove had his hand up, I think, and then Karen. Dove. let's see.
You
Yeah,
muted.
you're muted.
All right, I wanted to add that Abraham, who's considered the father of both the Jewish people and the Muslim people, both, was willing to sacrifice his son, because he thought that would favor God.
Yeah.
And the big and, that's the basis of the Rosh Hashanah New Year's, when, as a matter of fact, God sent a ram, which is the blowing of the ram's horn of the shofar, which tells you no more sacrifice, no more sacrifice. That's the whole idea of the new year, which ends, of course, in the Day of Atonement. Okay, that's it.
And that's interesting because you know that in Islam, the idea was that it was the other son who was taken up to and they call it Eid, EID, that is all about what was the other brother? It was Ishmael and
Esau.
no, Ishmael.
Isaac and
Yeah.
Ishmael. I'm sorry, Isaac.
Yeah. And so their belief that it was the firstborn son, Ishmael, who had been taken up, I believe that's the name, but had been taken up to be sacrificed. And so that's a big part of the ancient argument between between the Jews and the Muslims,
Yeah.
was that which son it was that was sent to be sacrificed.
Yeah.
But it's all a story.
I heard another, like a sidebar to the whole story. There was a woman rabbi in Manhattan who tells a story that she did the research, and after that thing where he was going to sacrifice his own son, and the ram came, and God said, "No, I don't want any more of this stuff." So after that, nowhere does it say that Sarah, his wife, or the son Isaac ever spoke to Abraham again. They never spoke.
That's interesting. Well, and then of course he sent the other woman, Hagar. Was it Hagar?
Yep.
Yeah, and he sent the other wife out into the desert with the son.
To die.
Well, no, according to Islam, he set them up with a big, he took care of them and made sure they didn't die, and they were able to go out and make, many civilizations. So, but that's, you wonder why we're so messed up as far as, these religious arguments that we have with each other. And it's because this whole idea that God wants this and God wants that, God likes this and God doesn't like that, it's a whole misunderstanding about God. Anyway, Karen has her hand up, and then Rafi, go ahead, Karen.
Exactly, Lynn. It is a whole misunderstanding about God. And what it reminds me of, and this is what I was thinking about, the story of King Lear and his three daughters. And the daughter who loved him the most was Cordelia. And Cordelia reminds me of Marguerite in the way that Marguerite was willing to die for what she believed to be true. And Cordelia was willing to give up her father's inheritance, if you want to call that a sacrifice, for just not falling into the trap of the ego. And, like, he wanted to know how he wanted each daughter to tell him how much they loved him. And, and whoever loved him the most is going to get the most of the inheritance, kind of thing. And of course, the other two daughters didn't even love him. They just wanted his money. And Cordelia was the only one who really truly loved him. But she was, I think that's Ken Wapnick's Love and Be Silent talk, where he talks, it's love and be silent. That is what Cordelia did. She loved him, but she was silent. She'd have to prove it. When God doesn't want us to prove our love. We don't have to prove our love. So that really reminded me of that story, because I just love that story. And yeah, that's all. Thanks.
Thank you for that. And yeah, that is a very moving story. And yeah, you see in the end who was the one who really loved, who was willing to give up and sacrifice. And of course, we recognize that it's not really sacrifice, but that's it's not sacrifice when you do what you want to do. Rafi, yes, please go ahead.
Yeah, I get a big kick out of the stuff in the Bible because it just, there's stories that were written for people nobody back then could read and write. So they just wrote these stories, these metaphoric stories. Cain and Abel is an example of two sides of egoity, the good guy and the bad guy. In the Muslim religion, there are a lot of people kill them in the name of Allah. When right in the Quran, section number 4 is written that it's forbidden for anybody who's a Muslim to bring harm to anyone who isn't a Muslim. It's written. So this is all of the stuff of the people who run the religions who want to maintain power, egoic power, and it's simply that we stand back and look at it. The ridiculousness of it hits me like like wet dough in the thirst. Boom! Are you serious with me? Are you kidding me? What is this? This is you just exerting or pushing your ego wants and needs first, and if a lot of other people got to suffer, that's cool. But I'm doing what I got to do to prove to you that I'm better than you. Oh, and all of that stuff, and sacrificing people in the name of God. Excuse me. God's love is omnipresence. There's no such thing as condemnation, that one is better than another. If you're Adolf Hitler or if you're Mother Teresa, God's love is the same. It doesn't split up, and it doesn't pick and choose. So all of this stuff, when it hits me, I love it. I revel in it. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Rafi. Yeah, I mean it's good to see where this comes from so that you don't get caught up in this. Yeah, but these guys are right and those guys are wrong and these guys are, they deserve this and they deserve that. It really has nothing to do with any of that. It's God loves us all equally, and he doesn't prefer one over the other, because how could he? I mean, we're all his self. It's like saying, I like my left foot, but I don't like my right foot. Well, let's see how far you can walk. You're gonna you're gonna figure it out sooner or later that you can't do one against the other. Karen, yes, please go ahead.
Yeah, in reference to what Rafi just said, in the course, the lesson that really, made me really know this course was for me was lesson 46. God is the love in which I forgive. And he says that God does not forgive because he never condemned. And that explains why, the course says that forgiveness is an illusion, but it's the illusion that cancels out all illusions. But it's an illusion because God does not forgive because he never condemned. So there's nothing to forgive because nothing happens. That's kind of hilarious in a way, but just in reference to what Rafi just said, that love does not condemn, God does not condemn. And yeah, thanks.
Yeah, thank you, Karen. And honestly, if we could just learn that one lesson, that there would be no more war, no more fear, no more nothing. If we just learned that lesson, that God is a all for one God, and doesn't love anyone more than any other. Doesn't love me better if I'm good, doesn't love me better if I'm bad, doesn't love me better no matter what my intentions are or my actions. God just loves me. And so yeah, I love that. Thank you, Karen. All right, so let's get into the introduction of this book. Who would like to read the introduction?
I'll bite a little piece of the pie.
Thank you. Hi, Rico.
Good evening, family. Thank you for allowing me to be here with you. I send you love and life from my heart to yours. This is the introduction. I'm going to read it like James, real slow. There is a life so subtle, so completely spacious, and so incredibly hidden that very few are able to recognize it when it arrives. This life cannot be achieved through sheer discipline, nor can it be earned by virtue. It is the life that remains when every outer image of self, in quotations, has, like mist in the morning sun, completely dissolved. This book, The Annihilated Self, invites you into that great unmaking, a movement of surrendering downward rather than upward into the endless and eternal depth of love. Ooh, I got a quiver from that sentence. The depth of eternal depth of love. Wow. This life cannot be achieved through effort. It's impossible to build a bridge to it through well-practiced good deeds or pure intentions. You will never be able to reach it with pious prayers or devout spiritual practices. This life dawns only when the soul, finally weary of its own striving, lets go completely, falling into the nakedness that was always there. Mm, mm, mm. It would be easy to consider an annihilated soul as humble or contrite, even virtuous. And yet, when fully dissolved, the soul is no longer aware of itself as either good or bad. It simply is pure existence, clinging to nothing, including the idea of being something or becoming something. The soul finally breathes the divine impulse as its own breath, moving as the beloved moves without asking why or how. The journey into this life seems like a dangerous one, not because it is violent, but because it skillfully undoes everything the mind cherishes and most of all protects. The soul that undertakes this simple path has to be willing to lose all of their illusions, even their desire for, what is that, forward, even their desire for reward. Consenting to vanish without a trace, the, the soul finds itself not in darkness, but in light so vast it cannot bear the name light. The first and most essential step is releasing the individual self's need to strive after anything at all. You have already tried every path and found each one wanting. The second step is what we will call holy dying, but not the death of the body. It is the death of ownership we are concerned with here. The surrender of my will, in quotations, my virtue, in quotations, my way, in quotations. The final step is life beyond life, a way of being so utterly simple, so completely direct that no explanation is possible. The annihilated life never seeks to become anything or to be anything. It simply and remarkably rests in what already is, silently and unafraid. As you read these pages, you will likely feel strong resistance. You may even sense a part of you clinging, screaming, grasping for something to hold. This is natural and to be expected. In the end, even the letting go must let go. When you find yourself saying, I've completely lost touch with who I am, and when this holy confession completely dissolves all fear, inspiring a deep trembling peace, then you will finally know that you have entered the threshold of the annihilated life. This is not a path for those seeking personal improvement. Far from it. In fact, this is the opposite of personal improvement. It is really for those who are ready to see past the ego identity they have claimed till now, stepping into the true identity of being one with God. This is a call to those who are ready and willing to lose everything, and in that sacred losing, find what was never lost. So step forward, dear soul. There is nothing left for you to protect. The mirror you thought reflected your reality is gone. Step through into the light. Ah, that tastes good. Mm.
Oh man, yes, it does. Thank you, Rico. Oh my gosh, I'm excited. And I see Steve has his hand up and so does Rafi. Steve, you want to go ahead?
Yes, isn't it synchronous that what I was sharing is just what James was writing about good, better, best, trying, and even trying to let go? That has to go also. I'm complete.
Thank you, Steve. Yeah, everything's got to go. It's got to go. Rafi, please go ahead.
Yeah, he just described the Sedona method and the release technique to the point perfectly. I mean, it's exactly, yeah. Wow, he could, wow, that's perfect. Yes. Thank you, Mr. Twyman.
That's something. I love it. I love how just this has come at the right time, and all of us are ready for this, and or else it wouldn't be here with us. So, yeah, I'm really really grateful for this too. And does anybody else have anything that they like to share? And don't
Yep,
think, just because we're here reading this that we're expecting y'all to jump off the roof. We're step into the fire. Anyway, go ahead. Who was that, Rico?
that was him. He's not a bad guy. Lynn, what really, I could feel the fiber of my beings moved. I can't find the sentence, but when he was talking about the depth of the eternal love, that just moved me. I got to go back and find it after this meeting's over, but that verbiage, uh, it made me go beyond words. It wasn't just the words, but it was what it was pointing to that really moved me.
Yeah. And it is what it's pointing to. That's what it's pointing to, what we are. Deb, yeah, please go ahead.
Oh, I agree with everybody, that surrender to the depth, he was before the surrender of the depth, he was talking about the ascension. We all want the ascension. We all want to rise to the light. And yet I was reading today about Ramana Maharishi, and when he had like he had a near-death experience when he was still a teenager. And at one point in his life that went on for years, they had to put food into his mouth and he would swallow. He was almost like catatonic or in samadhi, in a state. And I've read that about other saints as well. I mean, we all have. There was a woman, who wrote the Passion of the Christ. Cynthia Borgens. Anyway, it doesn't. She lived on a euconomical wafer a day for something like 13 years and had intense visions. It's these in some ways seem like the sacrifices we were talking about earlier. This but once on the path, and what takes over that, it annihilates the self. So the I always get a little lost when I'm trying to describe it because I don't believe it's happened to me, but I know it's there. And I do think that the clinging to our lives, like, oh no, I'm not going to give up my family. I'm not going to give up ice cream. It's just that rising, it's it lets go of us. It falls away. We don't even want that stuff when we keep recognizing and asking ourselves, what is it for? And what there's a letting go of it. I know everybody has experienced it to some degree and has tasted it. And earlier today, I'm kind of going on long here. We were talking about people were saying that in the groups, there's not as much participation, that people are quieter. And I was thinking that's part of this kind of collective where we're seeing it more and more. There's not that much to say. Our own personal lives are our path. It is our own parables that we're experiencing in the depths of ourself. And as they unravel, this grace, this this thing, what I truly am will rise. It will tell me of itself. And yet I wouldn't be able to transmit that in words. It won't come in the way I'm trying to tell you, because there'll be no words. And even, Luigi, who lots of us listen to, he says, if it was really happening for you, you would never say another thing because there's nothing to say, which I think is what Marguerite was experiencing when she walked into the fire. It's such divine bliss that there's nothing missing. There's and we say nothing but no thing and all being. And I wasn't going to buy the book until we got into a little bit, because I buy dozens of books, but I'm like, I was on Amazon and ordering it, so it's good. I am really grateful we're doing this. Thanks.
Oh, that's awesome. And yeah, thank you so much, Deb. And, that's all we're looking for. The reason Jesus was able to be crucified without screaming bloody murder and acting like he'd been, murdered, was because he didn't experience it. He wasn't experiencing himself as a body. I'm sure she was not experiencing herself as a body. And so, whatever they did to that thing didn't affect her, because that was not where she was. And just like Nisargadatta or Ramana Maharshi or any of those guys, they are not where you see them. They're not there. But the body is there as a teaching device. And I honestly believe that that's why these things happen. Steve has his hand up, and then Karen. Go ahead, Steve.
Every single breath reminds me to relax. At the end of the breath, I don't have to try to inhale. It's given me. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I need do nothing, including breathing. My body will breathe itself. My heart will beat itself. In fact, I can't even control that. I can't control, my heart beating, or, I can try to slow it down. I can do things with my breathing, but in reality, I can't make my liver work, or my kidneys, or, sometimes I wish I could, but, anyway, Karen, please go ahead.
Yeah, thank you so much, everyone. Deb, I love what you shared. Lynn, and was that Mike that just shared?
Steve.
Steve, I'm sorry, Steve. I'm not looking at the board. Yeah, I love what you shared. It's like breathing. It's natural. It's like the Course says, it's like breathing, walking down a path on a summer day, and what Deb shared, for me, it just, and everyone's sharing, it's like, for me, it's just like letting go of the identification with the body. And, my experience is nowhere near Ramana or any of the masters, and I don't care. For me, it's, when I am in a holy instant, when the body doesn't exist at all, when you're in that present moment, it's bliss. There's no cares, there's no worry, there's no pain. There's only the love that we are, and that's the feeling, that's the expression, that's the experience. And that's all it is. It's a moment, and as the Course says, it can be as long as you want it to be, and whenever you want it to be. And the other thing Deb shared, what Luigi shared, is what the Course says when the Course says you say God is, and then you cease to speak, because there is no other word. There's just no words. And it's just so beautiful. And I'm loving this. Thank you.
Thank you, Karen. Thank you, everyone who's shared here. I'm really excited to get into the text of this. And these are the conversations between the soul and love. So we're not going to be able to do that tonight because it's almost time to go over to the other meeting. I do want to check and see. First, I need to mark this, although we will remember where we're at because we haven't even started reading the book. Whoops. I'm just a clicking fool here. Anyway, I'm going to go ahead and stop the share. And Karen, do you still want to say something? Your hand is up. Not that it matters.
No, I'm sorry.
Okay, don't. Lo siento. Okay, so what I'm going to do, if you were able to copy the link, James just sent out another email with a link, and let me see if it's an easier link. I think the link is going to be fine, but there is a passcode to get in. And once I close this, then okay, let me see if I can just copy this. What happens when I post it? I'm trying to get it simpler here. There is a passcode. Oh, hey, that's better. All right. So you can click that link now if you want to, and it'll take you over to that meeting, and the passcode is 072294. 072294. If y'all want to try it, I'm going to try it right now, which will take me out of this meeting. But we will be able to go over there and join Jimmy.